You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, I fixed it!
Change.
Good.
I see we are
Oh,
live.
you're frozen. Hold on.
Oh,
there, you're no longer frozen.
Words? Yeah, excellent.
Just had to fix
Success.
things. There we go.
Here
Got
we
it
are.
working. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Hopefully you can actually hear us. We always have to have some fun with the audio.
No, the audio's working. No, I got it. I got it this time. Yeah, we're good.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So
here we are. We have a CubeStar. We got a good view. We've got a lot of people here today, which is excellent. We've got a pretty
nice.
cool show. Like last time, we spent a lot of time talking about like the eras of history in EVE. Today, we're going to be talking a lot about the use of third-party tools in EVE and whether we think they are good or bad. Where is the line? We're talking about third-party tools. We mean things like what used to be Pirate's Little Helper, things like ISBoxer, Taco, Near. Wormhole mappers, things like that. What sort of influence they have on the game, whether we think that they are useful or whether they're going too far. Where is the line when it becomes a cheat?
Yeah, I like to call it pushing the limits of player safety because it allows smaller organizations to do what a larger organization has the capacity to do with people automatically. It is crazy. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun discussion because I might have a bad viewpoint compared to most.
Before we get stuck in here, also, what up, Sally? We have a few things to go over. So we're going to do our international streamer segment. We're going to be talking to Kaiser Horgan from Ireland, and he's going to be chit-chatting with us about that. We're going to go over the new changes to T3 cruisers, the balance discussion regarding that. Brief news. Talking about like the Blood Raider Satios, the dramas there. One of the things that I wanted to talk about before we get started, though, is to brag on the team at INN, which I do rather often.
I forgot to put that in the notes. Well.
Thankfully, I don't need to be reminded. So if you go to INN now and you check out in the nav bar, we have our very first guide. This is a project that took a shitload of work for a lot of people working very hard on it for a couple months. A lot of guys from Theta worked on this, and they weren't even brought in as writers. They were just helping out as subject matter experts. So we want to have more guides like this. It's, I believe, the most detailed and accurate guide on how to optimize mining in many different methods of doing it in EVE Online. It's our first guide. We're very proud of it, and there will be more. So if you check it out, want to give us some feedback on that, we'd love to have it. And if you're interested in working on a guide project, as usual, you can hit us up through the Contact Us form if you are curious about being involved in guide writing.
I need to chip in about the guide. I think a huge amount of stuff was actually done by Izzy, Azalis. And
Azalis did an incredible, almost a superhuman amount. That's correct.
Exactly. So, you know, and I know that obviously Theta chaps like helped out, and it was a real kind of team effort. And I personally, I just think it's a wonderful thing that we actually directed our efforts doing this sort of thing rather than just writing shit pieces like other places do.
Not like we would know anything about shit pieces that can barely publish their way out of a paper bag or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that is excellent. Movement throwing some accurate shade, and a proper shout out for Azalis because she did just an insane amount of work on this, as did Kiala, as did a whole bunch of people from Theta. There is an industry guide in the works as well, so hopefully we can get things right with this one and take anything that we've learned from and add it to the next one. All right, so the Mittani has a new mohawk haircut. Actually, it's just a sign of me needing a proper haircut.
Yeah, I need to get one too. I gotta get one this week. Yeah. So
I do need to get a trim. So let's give some shout outs before we move on to the top story. We have Hildifer for 27 months in a row. Wow, dude. Let's get some Black
Jimmy
Eagles
J 99, 28 months. I believe that's you, Sadis, yes?
Well, yes, and that is 28 months.
Damn, son. Marco Porcio Caton for 2 months Twitch Prime, and El Chanter 2, 8 months. Theta Purge is imminent. And I'm going to scroll back a bit more. Cora Serum, take my Bezos bucks, 5 months Twitch Prime. Thank you. We will take your Bezos bucks. And I saw some more back here. Actually, no, I didn't.
That's
we
it.
covered everybody.
Yep,
Excellent.
Yep. So
we are good.
Yep, we're going to move into our top story after we read this donation. Ace Ventura haircut from Shirar. Thank you.
Excellent.
Nice.
I think I just played that twice, but whatever. Top
Sweet
story.
Top story. Here we are.
Yeah. So we're
Pote, what are we talking about here today? What is this?
Tacos. No, seriously. The title says tacos, but what we're really going to talk about today is pushing the limit of player safety in EO Online. And what I mean by this is it's not a big secret anymore. As more and more things like Reddit become popular, the secrets get out when everyone can talk and technology pushes forward. And so today's top story, we're going to talk about the various programs and applications that are third-party that are used to assist players in safety. So while I'd say most people, like 90% of the time, use it for PvE, player versus environment, and to protect their little ratting ship that costs tens of billions of ISK or whatever, it's starting to make its way into the PvP section. Players are starting to see this technology and how it's used and what it does, and pushing it to whole new levels. So we go with Taco at the very beginning. Now, Taco is a program that a lot of goons use, a lot of test guys use it, a lot of anyone that lives in 0.0. It's a program that parses text files that is legal. You can illegally pull text files out of the game because CCP generates them into a file folder, and allows you to like track intel channels via text files. So
it's like a parser. I mean, before we get into this, actually, I think what we haven't done yet is we need to introduce our guests.
Oh yeah, we haven't done that. Sorry. All right, so our guests today, we have Kanan, who's a Goonstorm Federation FC, and I think he's.
Let's let them introduce themselves. Kanan, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, basic story is I'm a GSFFC right now. Not very relevant, according to many people.
Are you like the 27th best? I mean, I think you're higher in rank than Asher, right? So you're probably like the 13th best FC.
Depends on who you ask, really. And some people will place me in like 200s, probably.
Wow, that's better than me.
Excellent. And let's see, Sadus, why don't you say hello?
Hello, everyone. Sadus here. Have been with the Black Hand for a while. Currently doing a transition out of that, but things are good, and glad to be on the show today.
Excellent. And Moomin, of course. I love the. I'm not sure whether Moomin approves of this weird, like, is that like a bondage?
No, that's the Mutani
cow. Oh my.
No, it's the Moomin.
Yeah, that is an official Moomin image.
Excellent.
It's the only reason he has It's the only reason he has like a little thing above his name instead of being with everyone else, because he wanted to have that image up.
Okay, well, if he chose this as opposed to you, like finding like
no. This is from when he was the Mutani, the day you weren't here, and he was playing as Mittens.
I know.
And that was the image he wanted me to put in his place. So
I must also kind of stress is this isn't something that I went through the internet searching for myself. It was actually something that was provided to me whilst I was chatting to someone in local one day. They kind of linked me that, and I thought that's hilarious. So
it would be much more terrifying if that was a picture of you in real life.
That would be fun.
I am more buff in real life.
Of course you are.
Sure.
So Kaiser, do you say Kaiser or how do you pronounce your name?
Just Kaiser, really.
Kaiser.
That's about it.
Who are you?
Well, I guess I'm Kaiser, and I represent the Eve Dublin player meets and HKU member. That's about it, really. I like to drink. Hey.
Excellent.
This is perfect because we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Yeah. So. All
right, let's get stuck in. So I'm gonna throw it over here. I mean, Taco, third-party tools. I mean, I guess the first question is, I will throw it over to Moomin because I love to hear his voice. Where do you think the line is of these tools? What do you think about them in general? And are there any third-party tools that you believe cross the line as going too far?
Generally, I would say that just given the very nature of what Eve is, and let's be honest about it, it does have a propensity to actually attract a certain type of person that is potentially going to be very good at kind of problem solving in conjunction with a technological background as well. Basically, if you're going to have an arms race with these people, which is what we're kind of like saying to CCP that, you know, maybe they should do, you're probably going to lose, to be brutally honest. So I think that the diversity of the tools that are available and, you know, how they're actually chained together and what they can be used for, I think that's testament to the type of game that Eve is. And I don't really think that you can actually do anything to police it, personally.
Ooh.
And should you do anything to please it?
That's what you're here for, Sadis. Should you?
Well, the thing is, there's all these tools that everyone can use, and they're open to everyone. Now, granted, there are several tools like Tripwire that certain coalitions get all of the information from, but you're using them to benefit your game, give you more intelligence, allow you to make a more informed decision. So as long as it's not directly giving you an advantage in terms of your ability to fight against another pilot or make your ship super powerful, why wouldn't you use them? It's just information. Information has never hurt anyone.
Well, that's the joke, obviously, and I like that. Information, of course, is one of our greatest weapons, but Sadis brings up a good point. But I want to hear from Kanan on this, because Kanan is, of course, the FC. Actually, I don't know if Kaiser also FCs, but Kanan, what is your view on it? Because you're going to have a different perspective than the rest of us.
So I have a bit of a more nuanced thought about it. As far as tools like Tripwire and things like that, when it comes to like wormhole mapping or generation and things like that, I'm perfectly fine with tools like that. However, when we get into issues like Taco and things like that, where you basically generate tools that will more or less crush any attempt for people to actually go in, kill people, and do things like that, I think that's when we start to approach a line where we get into, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of more...
It's a gray area,
problematic,
and unfair,
area.
Problematic,
unfair
and
advantage,
unfair
yeah.
advantage,
basically, yeah. Because at that point, you also start reducing the amount of like fighting, ganking, and things like that that can also occur in the game, and I think that's a very dangerous line to start approaching.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, what about the fact that something like Taco or any one of those systems that warns you what's happening in your system? It's not so much saying this person's coming near. It means that someone who is aligned with you can put a warning out there, and it gets to a wider audience. So it has that active component, which makes it so that it's not just automatically monitoring. Someone has to go and alert the program that this is happening. So really, it means that you have to count on your friends more. And isn't that a good thing?
This is where I draw the line. And I'm going to demonstrate this live on stream, because this is where that gray area of you have to physically do it. This argument came up recently for a thing that I've been doing, a project I've been doing called Streaming Local, where, and this is using Twitch's design, which is allowed by the game. They actually have Twitch built into EVE Online, to stream both the overview of an undock and then the local window itself to show 4 different systems. And it can, of course, have infinite capacity, just 4 is the one we do. And the fact is that it is impossible to go unnoticed with this, right? Now, it does require me streaming it, and it does require people looking at it, but where it becomes a problem is, while it's illegal to bot in EVE, you can't run a bot that like notifies you of sounds. There was a bot that was made a while back called LocalBot, or just Bot, where it would like ping a sound if something jumped into local, like it noticed something changed in local, it would make a sound and everyone would hear it. That's bannable, right? But what you can't ban is if somebody puts that same bot on a Twitch stream, because they're not interacting with the EVE client themselves, they're interacting with Twitch. Now, can Twitch ban them? Sure, but what's Twitch going to do to the player, right, that's looking at a Twitch stream? So it takes it to a whole new level, and I'm going to show it here on stream and how this can be a thing. I'm going to open a window here. But basically what ends up happening is you end up in a situation where, like, say, FCON Space, and FCON's the one that developed this. They're the ones that have pushed this to a new level. We found this out recently on Reddit. 3 or 4 weeks ago, it got noticed that what you could do is put a program like Taco. You have like Amist, for example, and I'll link it here in chat. Amist has 3 entrances. So if you wanted to, you could stick 3 characters at the 3 entrances, have a Twitch stream running of both local and the overviews, and have a bot that pings loudly when more than like 5 people enter that system, right? Now, the entire region of Amist has been warned something's coming without any player interaction needed, right? So that's where I think the line
the thing
goes.
that's tough about all this stuff. Also, I noticed that Noisy Gamer here is in chat, and he usually has a much more nuanced understanding of precisely what CCP will ban for and not, because that's his specialty on his blog. Which, incidentally, recently he's been charting ISK sellers, which he always does, and I'm always amused whenever I see him tweeting and showing CCP nuking somebody doing RMT. That's been happening a lot recently. It's cool to see. So hopefully Noisy Gamer can sound off a little bit here in chat and show us something about what exactly the official line is when it comes to this. I think for me, the bright line test is essentially, what would it be like if you took the third-party tool and actually made it part of EVE Online, right? Like, what would EVE Online look like if this thing that's a third-party tool was actually part of the game itself that CCP had chosen to add? Would it break the game? Would it just be a feature? So in the case of Taco, Taco doesn't really work unless you already have people reporting intel, and essentially it is something that would ding you if there was a report of something. It would still be contingent upon a player activity of doing something. If I personally had 5 or 6 accounts that I was paying for, or my buddy had 5 or 6 accounts, if I have a roommate, right? Let's say I have a roommate and I'm playing EVE over here and he's got 6 screens and he has 6 different accounts live, and 4 of those accounts are local monitors, right? A system. Is that illegal and bannable because I'm looking over to see my roommate who has also playing EVE on his thing? I mean, that's sort of like streaming.
Right. That's the gray area, right?
That's showing people what's happening in somebody else's EVE client.
I don't know. That's kind of my point, realistically, which is trying to police this is just going to be an absolute nightmare. But all of these tools are actually developed through quality of life improvements that people think of. So they're looking to improve their quality of life to make it whether or not they do ratting, mining, or PvP at all, to make those activities easier for them to control. So it would be interesting to see it in game, to see how that would affect things, and arguably some of these things are already in the game. So if you open up the map, you can see how many jumps or how many active pilots are in space. There is information there.
Well, I think that an idea occurred to me, and Kaiser, also please, and Kanan as well, just jump in here if you have opinions about any of this. It seems to me that Noisy Gamer points out that the issue for CCP is really the automation. Now, it occurs to me that the function of Taco could be replicated in a non-automated way by the larger organized alliances, right? These automated tools really allow smaller entities to do things that people like the Imperium could do. So, for example, what we could do, because we already have a coordination team, is almost like a taxi dispatcher or a security controller. You could have a guy in Theta whose job it was to, everybody would report where they're currently ratting and mining on a shared spreadsheet or something. And you could have somebody as a volunteer, or maybe you pay a ISK from the Alliance to fulfill an Alliance function. And they sit there on comms and work in shifts and go, we have hostiles reported in this intel channel here. And then they directly ping on Jabber or on Mumble, hey, I have these 4 guys ratting here. I'm going to call them up and say, hey, dude, there's hostiles 4 jumps out from your reported ratting location, right? That's not automated. That is manual. And that is something that a large alliance could do. In fact, this is kind of a really cute idea if we could have people, a rolling staff of people like basically like a live intel stream. You have people watching intel, charting hostiles. You know where your Theta, if Theta knows where their work walls are, then you've got a dude in Theta going, hostiles are 3 jumps out. I know I've got these 5 guys in this one system, and now I'm going to be pinging them on Jabber or pressing a siren button to alert them.
That's
which
the
sounds
effort
pretty cool,
thing,
actually.
right? That's the effort part. That's what these programs make it so you don't have to do that. That's the point, is to take the goal is like, when I see this going, is optimization, right? You're going to improve your quality of life so well that this is going to really hit the game hard. Now, right now, where it hits the game is PvE, right? Your guy in his ratting super, I could have my spy on grid watching this guy rat his super with no hostiles anywhere nearby, and then the second one of these programs pick up a hostile, 20 jumps out, he's safe, right? Like, it's almost impossible without an AWACS or a spy burnt to catch some of these guys now because of these quality of life improvements that Moon mentioned. But where it gets really crazy is how intuitive mixing these together becomes. So the example I listed, V-Intel here. This is developed by Proviblock, and it combines their KOS list and uses V-Intel to only report the KOS people. So the people that are considered shoot on sight. So rather than reporting every single neutral that comes in local, you type the name into the KOS list and say this guy's nearby or whatever, and then boom, now they're warned on V-Intel. Rather than warning if Matani comes by, if like you're allowed to go in there, you know what I mean? Like they have their not red, don't shoot policy.
Yeah,
right?
that is actually.
That's where this comes into a big deal, is that no longer do they have to report everyone. They can only report a few, and then the giant list that is their KOS list picks through it.
You know, this is a total tangent, but I want to talk about Providence and their KOS list here for a moment. Imagine the sheer amount of effort and coding work, development work, administration and infrastructure that has gone into maintaining and managing the Providence NRDS bullshit that they do. You know, if Providence had actually taken all this effort, time, coding, and everything that they divert into simply doing NBSI like all the other adults in the room, they would actually be a block power. They would probably also not live in Providence. It's just stunning the amount of effort and brain power that has gone into maintaining NRDS, which is bad for your organization anyway.
Right, and so there's that, and then you have IS Boxer. So where these programs can really go into craziness. So there's a program called On Top Replica. Used to be legal. CCP's kind of on a gray area on this. I don't know if they officially banned it or not. I used to use it back in the day with AFK ratting Ishtars. You'd put like 5 AFK ratting Ishtars, and On Top Replica could copy your portion of the screen and pull it all into one screen. So I could be playing like TF2 and see all 5 of my ratters and know instantly when all 5 were done, instead of having to look at 5 different screens, right? So On Top Replica would allow that. And then you have a situation like IS Boxer, which can then launch 20 EVE clients at the click of a button. So if somebody really wanted to put less effort into it, they could use IS Boxer, Twitch, Talk, like all these programs together and make it so your space is like 1,000 times more secure. But where I think this is going to make it so the game just really goes crazy is a small alliance who doesn't have the infrastructure the GSF does. So we have Recon here. We have Black Hand from Sadis. We have FCs that have their level of information. A small alliance that doesn't have that kind of infrastructure could then use these apps to attack people, because now they can have their own Recon or Scouts channel via Twitch. One guy can then become an entire coordination team of Scouts and Recon, right? Then you have like a situation where you're knowing instantly when all the hostiles are forming up. You're knowing what they're bringing. Like, so it makes a smaller group able to react better, I think.
One of the things I want to point out here is, in many ways, third-party tools that are in this gray area become precursors to features. And I think that it's important to, nobody likes to exist in a gray area because they're not sure whether they're going to get banned or not, because, there isn't clarity. But an example from Goonfleet's early history, actually, one of the most popular features that has been added to the game because life before it sucked, is the fact that you can actually see your standings with somebody in a local window in are they red or are they blue? Back in the day, in the dark ages, Goonfleet pioneered, and when I say Goonfleet, I mean a hero, Cube Polygon, who was a guy who was the server admin before Solo Drakman, came up with the Cube Polygon portrait pack. Yeah. All of the portraits that you have are stored locally on your computer. And in the early days, we had so many people in Baby Goonfleet in SU-8A4, never forget, and Syndicate, that hostiles would come in, and everybody in the entire alliance would replace their local portraits with indications as to somebody whether they were red or blue. So you could tell instantly whether a hostile entered local, because there was a time in EVE where you couldn't see whether somebody was red or blue just from the local list.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh my goodness.
It was such a wonderful feature that we all used it, and CCP ended up adding it into the game. So we have this interesting situation here where, is this a third-party tool that is a third-party tool simply because CCP hasn't had the development resources to add this feature into the game, and thus it's not just a gray area, it's a white area and will actually be part of EVE Online? We don't know. I think that the one thing that I will say about this is, we as a player base, nobody wants to, well, most people don't want to break the rules, right? We want to have clarity to know whether we are screwing something up or not. I don't want to install any of these things if it puts my account at risk, and I think a lot of us feel the same way. And I think it would be very valuable to have a CCP Q&A thread or an official dev post that explicitly outlines, when there is a new third-party tool, is this kosher or not, and just get a formal CCP ruling.
Right.
And that way, if it stops being kosher, like when CCP changed their views about ISBoxer, they said ISBoxer is okay, but you can't have automation, and here's why.
Multicasting, yeah.
Right, exactly. And so just, clearly the fact that we're having this discussion means that we could all benefit from clarity. Is Taco good or bad? Why should we debate it? Can't CCP just do their job?
And I think that's the situation, because we'll talk about this later, where CCP is mess with some stuff, but you end up in a situation where this thread got posted by a guy named Vic Jefferson. Now, Vic Jefferson, anyone watching the stream that's in Goons knows who he is. He's the guy who does blob shopping. And Vic Jefferson despises our use of these undocks, even though they're not intentionally for him. They're for stopping dread bombs, because you can't really do a surprise dread bomb if the undock is watched, right? You're gonna know it's coming. But he thinks it's about him, so he's posted like 10 threads on Reddit calling for CCP to take action, and no one's replied from CCP. Like, there's been all these call outs. Hey, is this okay?
Well, I don't think that CCP should be replying to official inquiries on Reddit in the first place.
Well, that's the thing they do, though. That's the problem. That is
dumb, but they should have posts. These things have sticky posts on official forums, so people can refer to them later, because Reddit moves at the speed
I think that's a good idea. See,
idiocy is very quick.
We're giving CCP ideas here on the Meta Show.
I don't know.
We're doing it for them.
What do you? I don't know, Kaiser. What's your take on this? You haven't sounded off yet.
I would say that there's quite a lot of naysayers when it comes to this game. Whenever there's these sort of improvements that vastly improve your overall game experience, and the likes of these tacos can be, they're used in a beneficial way. And at the end of the day, it's not hard to kill someone in this game. It's pretty easy. Like, if you wanted to, let's say, infiltrate a group and find out where they are, all you have to do is just look at the intel channels and stuff like that. You'll know exactly where people are, and it's not hard. Like, at the end of the day, it's good in my books. Like, the way I look at it is CCP aren't very, how do I put this? Accepting of mods like other gaming companies. Like, they wouldn't integrate them into the client themselves, and then, as you say, there's quite a lot of gray areas, and you don't know exactly where you stand with CCP. Because I remember a few years ago, before the casting of ISBoxer got banned, there was a lot of people very hesitant on using it, even though it was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You'd have people saying, "Oh, you're going to get banned," and it's just like, "Oh, no, you're not going to get banned. Just see what CCP says." And
I knew.
I don't know.
I knew of a back in the day. There was and of course I'm not going to say where I heard this, but I knew some people that used ISBoxer to then run a thing called EveBot. And when all the big bots got banned, HBot notably, a lot of people got banned. EveBot people didn't. They never got caught because it used ISBoxer's functionality to work and integrated with that, so it was never noticed. And then CCP finally caught on to things like multi-broadcasting and stuff like that ISBoxer could do, and it prevents that bot from running anymore, right? No one uses it anymore. But there's things like that kind of take it to further levels. It's, I guess the idea here is where's that stop point, right? Where do you do this, and then eventually hit a point where it's like, nope, that's too far. And so hopefully CCP does it. I like that someone said in chat, though, this is the you're welcome CCP discussion.
I mean, I think that I think in many ways, I'm not sure if there is a clear bright line answer. So I'm just sort of groping towards a guideline, and my attitude towards it is the tool something that people can just do themselves if they feel like it? So, for example, this distinguishes Taco from multicasting multicasting 40 ships simultaneously. An individual cannot control 40 ships simultaneously magically just on their own if they really felt like it, right? You simply physically cannot do that without the automation.
Right.
In the case of Taco, an individual can absolutely press a button to send an alarm out on comms when they're watching intel channels and alert their buddies to it. Or they can look at the intel channel themselves and press a button, or have their friends do it, right? So when you move away from efficiency, which is efficiency would be taking something that you could do or your friends could do if you're sitting around the table and to say, hey, we need an organization to do this, then broadly, I think it's okay. If you had a guy, so this is why I'm perfectly okay with people streaming undocks, is if you have a guy whose job it is in your alliance to sit there and watch the undock, we call that a recon organization or a scouts organization. Every alliance has them, and they say, hey, I see people are undocking, and I'm going to alert other people in the coordination team that this is a thing. That doesn't bother me because that's something that people can do. If it's something that is digging into logs in a way that a human couldn't do it, or a team of humans couldn't do it, that's where I think it goes too far.
You know where I think this leads to? Now, this is, of course, the speculation here. This came across in a Theta chat. Hi, Waving. Is that you end up in a situation where it all comes down to local existing in the game. If they ever remove the local, like Wormhole Space has, all of this shit goes away. All these third-party, Taco, VIntel, the streaming of local, all that shit disappears pretty much overnight because, like Wormhole Space, if you can't see local, there's nothing to report, right? You don't know that guy's in local until you're tackled. And you can imagine this, I mean, might even eventually lead to that. Could you imagine if you had no local? I mean, that would change the game on an insanely huge level, right? Like,
I don't know.
Fundamental one.
Right.
Yeah, Kanan, what do you think? Is there a clear line to distinguish these things? What do you think?
I think it's impossible to actually lay down a firm line on this. However, a different way that I would almost like to, well, a new element that I'd like to really throw into the discussion, or just the thought, is what the more or less ground effects are, and just really kind of clean out and distinguish what those are. So basically what this all boils down to is how much effort does an individual player have to go through from each side of the coin, from the PvE spectrum versus from, say, a guy that wants to go roaming through a hostile space, or an FC wanting to take a roam through a hostile space. Where exactly is the line between how much effort the PvE guy has to go through in order to keep himself safe versus how much effort the FC has to go into to actually secure guilds for his people and shit like that? And right now, with these tools being developed and shit, I personally think it's shifting far more into NFC has to put in a profound amount of work, namely as in like throwing spies and AWAC assaults into enemy alliances in order to bypass these measures in order to actually even have a chance at getting kills.
Right.
I have a question for you there, which is, have you found on roams and looking for content, is there a differentiation between the size and organizational capacity of the alliances that you're hunting? Like, are you finding that these tools are leveling the playing field between small alliances that don't have thousands of people who are organized, or is it everyone is now sort of the same level of organization and the same level of difficulty?
It's difficult for me to really give a concrete opinion on that, namely because I'm not a huge roaming FC myself. I mostly deal with strategic work, like grid level fights and things like that. But in the limited experience I have and just intuition of knowing what the end game of this could be, I can only see it resulting in just an absurd amount of difficulty for roaming FCs to actually go out and get shit done and actually make ganks and kills happen.
Yeah. You can tell the alliances that are using these and the alliances aren't. Like, I do a lot of roaming fleets. Pretty much all the boat shows are roaming fleets when they're playing Eve. You can instantly tell who is using, this alliance-wide protection setup versus alliances don't, communicate very well. And so, if you go to FCon space, you know you're going to catch that first guy, and then that's it. You're not going to catch anyone else. There's no point in going through the rest of the place. Whereas, maybe in the drone lands, you can catch 20 guys because it's so many different alliances and they don't communicate very well. And so you can almost tell, right away, who's organized in defending their ratters and miners and who's not.
I think that organization is OP on both sides of this.
Right.
And I don't actually see it as being overpowered at all, because here's the thing. If you're part of a large organized organization on the FC side of the aisle, then you have a spy agency, you have people who are actively lining up AWACSs, you're probably reading the hostile intel feed, you have ping bots, you have all sorts of things on your side to sort of balance things to allow you to hunt and kill. And what this does is it creates an organizational arms race where on the side of those who are being hunted, their organization is setting up their own ping bots. Maybe they're using Taco. Maybe they're using a dispatcher system of alerts. Maybe, you know, sort of like prairie dogs when they make little noises when they say, oh, there's danger, and they pop up out of their burrows or whatever and squawk or whatever it is that prairie dogs do. And the more organized they are as a group, the easier it is individually for them to keep their herd safe. And so I think that what we see is, in many ways, these tools are a particular benefit for the smaller entities that are less able to do the kind of things. Like I was saying earlier, we could literally replicate Taco just by throwing people at it without an automated system at all and having just an organization of the Imperium, because we spin up orgs all the time. But exactly, like, you know, we could call it, you know, the Ministry of Prairie Dogs.
Ministry of Prairie Dogs, yes.
Mini Prairie, right? Like,
Nice.
you know, but the thing is, a smaller entity that's just getting started in Nullsec or is in Western Bumfuckistan and the drone regions, maybe they've got 150 people, they can't have a mini prairie.
Right. I do like this suggestion here, and I think it's a really good one, and the CCP would probably never do this, but it is hilarious. Instead of getting rid of local outright, you make local tied into the soft holding. So this way, high-sec local works because Concord controls it. Low-sec works, Concord controls it. But in 0-0, it's whoever owns the solve gets to see local, and everyone else, it's blank. Like, they don't get to see who's in local. So you go to someone's home and you're hunting, and you don't know if there's going to be 50 guys cloaked on that gate waiting to get you because you can't see if they're there or not in local. That would be fucking hilarious. And I like that.
It'd be hilarious and interesting, but...
Broken as a motherfucker.
Yeah, it would be broken as a motherfucker, and it's really, like, pushing the point that...
Yeah.
It wouldn't really promote content.
Apparently,
it would.
Okay, so, yeah, so that's... thanks. So that took up 40 minutes. It was exactly what I wanted. A long discussion, because I'm kind of...
Well, I like these discussions because I think that...
We're gonna have
one of the things I really liked about the last meta show when we got together and we were talking about sort of the historical eras in EVE and the need for Cold War, whether we're going to see people fighting more or less, how are things headed with that. You know, I like these sort of wide-ranging discussions from a lot of interesting folks who are our guests, more so than the news reporting. I think it is important for us to say, hey, here's what happened in EVE, but I find the questions of why is EVE the way it is and what EVE should be to be more my territory.
Yes.
So cool.
So yeah, we're going to move on to Imperium Brings You News, and before we do that, we want to give a shout out here to Iceburn. Thank you for your 30-month subscription.
Wow, 30 months. Goddamn,
that's a long time. And then we also had a donation again from Shirar. He called himself PL Recon and said, look, if Boat's going to watch local, I'm going to watch Boat's store. See when he's out to do bombing. So yeah, great. Don't forget to spam the Eagles in chat, because they're awesome, and we also have Boat hats that you can spam. So Imperium Brings You the World, and we press this button.
I wonder what they're doing in Ireland.
We're about to find out. All right, so our international trip.
Spotlight.
Yeah,
so
we're going to Ireland, baby.
That actually sounds extremely exciting, and we should totally have a big ass good meet there. So Kaiser, we obviously brought you in to mouth off whenever you felt like it on the earlier segment, but you are, tell us about yourself. Where are you from, and what can you tell us about is there an Irish community in EVE Online, and if so, what's it like?
Yeah, well, okay. I'm from Ireland, specifically Sligo. I've actually lived in Dublin for quite a while, but I've moved back. So I'm currently on the northwest coast, and it's very overcast at the moment, and cold and wet and raining. But other than that, yeah, it's good here. We do have quite a big enough community, but they can be quite shy at times. There's quite a lot of them that don't even know there is an Irish channel, but it's quite dead, to be said. So we're trying to move it over to the EVE Dublin channel because we actually have active moderators, so we can, promote stuff in it and whatnot. We have our own Discord and stuff like that. But yeah, so we have the EVE Dublin meet, which is on the 20th and 21st, I believe.
Sweet.
Nice.
Of October. I'm gonna link the website here if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Yeah, if it doesn't link automatically, I'll relink it. It's no problem. So while you're cool, it did link. Nice. Oh, and it deleted. I'll fix it. So Eve Dublin. So that's the question that we always ask this of every international guest, and of course we'll ask you: are you drinking right now?
No, actually, I was drinking last night.
Okay.
Yeah, sadly, I
That's
didn't have time
acceptable.
to go to the shop.
I guess the question, and this is not a common thing in Ireland from what I understand, but do you speak Irish Gaelic?
Well, the story behind that is yes, when I was about 5, and no now, because right, the way it works here is that you're not given a choice to speak Irish. You're kind of it's forced on you from primary school, which would be, I believe, your kindergarten, and then on to secondary school, which is high school.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, you're not required to speak it at all unless you want to go to university or be a teacher or join on Garda Síochána, which is our police force. And
What did you call it?
on Garda Síochána.
Ah, okay.
So that is Irish there,
Right.
but that's about the height of it. I don't particularly like the language. It's quite dead. It's not like we're the only country that speaks it, and nobody really likes to speak it. Or some people might say they do, but they really don't. It's a terrible language.
It's one of those things that sort of like Icelanders say that they have to like Hakarl, the piss shark or something, because it's an Icelandic thing, but nobody actually likes it.
Yeah, it's just a cultural thing. Like there is designated areas around the country called Gaeltachts where it's basically Irish is spoken there all the time. And if you speak English to, let's say, the natives of there, they'll get really pissed off and they'll just like slam their door in your face.
Wow. So that leads us to our next thing. Being from Ireland, do you guys have like an interesting community? I know a lot of different countries have their own little communities, their own little corners of Eve, as it were. Do you guys have one from the Eve Ireland people?
We're very spread out throughout like various Eve groups. Quite a lot of people are in PL, and there is a few in Goons. I haven't really seen many people in Goons that are Irish. I believe World Shatter's Irish. And yeah, they're just primarily spread out. There's a good few of them at the wormholes, like Joseph, our ginger overlord, who is the head of Eve Dublin. He has a few in there. I believe he's in Scary Wormhole People.
Okay.
And yeah, no, that's it really. Like, but we actually do have a really cool Irish guy in it, Scorpio. He's like the best FC in it, supposedly. I get a free pint for saying that. So hey.
If I don't know if Sister Bliss, well, Sister Bliss doesn't give a shit, so that's pretty cool. Especially get a free pint, then that's all worth it.
The next question, then, of course, we found this out with Korea, that there's a very major split, like right down the middle of we either like.
No,
Koreans
don't
or
go
like it.
down here, but just.
I actually live on that border.
No. What I'm saying is
I don't think that boat
I'm not
realizes.
talking about real life. No, I'm not. No, I'm not doing that.
You're
No,
not-
I'm not going there.
This isn't the politics podcast.
No, yeah, I'm not going there. I'm not talking about real life. I'm talking about in the video game. So the Korean split in Eve is because of some lawyer or something, where like somebody sued a Korean guy.
Well,
I'm talking about
he's saying that everybody is sort of spread out amongst alliances,
Yeah.
so there's not really like a.
Is there any love-hate here?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I mean.
Well,
Is there like a big hate with
there's
you
the
two?
obvious Gurgoons. That's quite big because there's quite a lot of the Irish community are in PL, and then NC. Like big enough name, I think, is that Trader John. He's Irish.
Oh,
Really?
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I always thought he was English.
Yeah, and Christopher Wow. Yeah,
Wait,
but
Christopher Wilde. He's got a name like Wild.
yeah,
Like
well,
WILDE, and he's Irish. Interesting.
But anyways, he's Irish, and I believe he streams every now and then. And then Joe would probably be the most famous in recent times of the Irish community, primarily for starting up the Eve Dublin meet there.
Right. Well, what is your favorite? I mean, obviously you're probably biased in favor of Eve Dublin, but I mean, what do you think is? I've only been to Dublin once. I got a fantastic romantic dinner with Shadu many years ago when I had a layover. We had a nice little flower between us, and it was good stuff. But what's your favorite city to party in Ireland?
Well, without a doubt, that would have to be Dublin. because where I live is it's filled with pubs and restaurants, and yeah, there's only so much you can do in your hometown before you want to like kill yourself.
Wow.
Damn straight.
It's really bad here. Like, yeah, it's pretty bad where I live. But it's like, if you're into scenery and all that sort of stuff, it's like you'll have a wet dream essentially.
Oh, nice.
Like we've got this thing called the Wild Atlantic Way. I think it's like the longest scenic drive in the world. So yeah, if you're ever over in Ireland, you should probably take a look at that. It's pretty magnificent.
Something to check out. This is a segue into talking about Imperium and Goonswarm meetups. Just very briefly, one of the things that we are promoting, we talked about this today on the Fireside Chat, Rowden, who is super good at event management and running things, has been turned into basically like a subdirector of events, because now we have in San Diego, we have in Madison, now in Tampa, people in the Imperium are starting to do things on like the third weekend. They're usually third Thursdays or sometimes on the third weekend of each month, getting together and all just partying with each other in various cities around the world. And it's something that we are officially getting behind and pushing. So if you're watching this and you didn't hear about it on the Fireside, holy crap, that's a really loud thing right outside my window. I don't know if you guys.
No, we could hear it.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's pretty cool. Like we have Amsterdam coming up as well, and there's gonna be a big ass party in Milwaukee. We're gonna start in Madison and go to Milwaukee right after Thursday Madison, then Friday Saturday in Milwaukee, coming up in Summer Swarm. So I'm pretty pumped about that. That's pretty crazy. Neat. I know a lot of cool places in Milwaukee. I think it gets overlooked a lot. And then we're gonna sort of start taking these things on the road. So I'm pretty excited to hear about meets like Eve Dublin, or Imperium specific meets like the ones we have in San Diego, in Madison, in Tampa coming up soon, and Summer Swarm, and getting behind these things and pushing is cool.
Yes, hold on, what was I gonna say? Fuck, I forgot. Damn it, it was on topic.
Awesome, Kaiser, thank you so much. Please stick around with us, because we're going to be talking about more things on the Nullsec Power Hour.
We're actually going to skip a couple of the things in that, so go ahead and click this button. I don't think we had anything shout-out wise, so button.
I think the loud noise was someone setting up a bot outside Mitten's door.
I think we said Iceburn for 30 months. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, we did. Okay, cool. Yeah, and so we move on to Nullsec Power Hour, and there's going to be some interesting things coming our way here. Some rather comical things. The Satoyo, I'm going to kind of switch the order around here. The Blood Raider Satoyo lived. It did not die. We had a live blog going on over at Imperium News, expecting it to die. And the Russians gave
and
the old...
Chandragon streamed it and did a great job.
Yeah, the Russians gave the old Ruse Cruise.
Yeah.
It actually proved beneficial for Goons that this happened this way. So here's what happens. Russians reinforced it with 4 super carriers around downtime. Like, they used 4 super carriers. So everyone in Eve's all horny and excited because now they're going to come steal it from these 4 Russians. So they bring 150 interceptors from, like, Test and Pandemic Horde, and then the Russians go, you know what? You want to steal the loot? We'll just not kill it. Good luck. And they left it alive, and it repaired, and now it's still there, which is fucking hilarious.
So it hasn't changed system after it repairs. It just stays in that same system in period basis for the Russians to have another whack at it.
Yeah, so it literally could just sit there forever, and it's kind of a boycott, and a lot of people are feeling that this needs to happen because the loot mechanics are broken as hell. It's 100k wide. You can't stop someone from looting it. It makes it pretty much like a 50-50 chance between you and another guy if you're going to get the loot, right? And players are kind of like revolting in a way. Like, they don't want to run it because it's like, okay, I can go there with my cloaked interceptor, wait for you to kill it, and now I can steal the loot and walk out. And
yeah, I mean, you know, fundamentally to me, this is just a case of, well, it's effort to actually do something, and there's pretty well much no effort in order to, like, you know, steal the drop.
It's easier to steal it than it is to actually kill it.
Exactly. So you just might as well just kind of like sit there if that's really your thing. Wait for someone else to do the reinforce, and you don't even need to like worry about the first reinforce, because I mean, you know, we've had CCP and I think it was Jebby as well, kind of like shouting about where it is.
Yeah, once it comes, once it's been found, they're like, "Oh, there it is, guys. Go over there." You know.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as I'm concerned, until they like fix it, Personally, I've got no interest in it, and I think that that's a sentiment shared by like others.
Right.
And the other thing that is really annoying me at the moment is people coming up with like stupid ideas about how to fix it, when all you need to do is just actually get it to drop a container which is like 25,000 meters cubed or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be rocket science. I mean, this is not a wild and crazy thing, but I mean, it's
Right.
good. It's a denial tactic. Like, if the balance of things here, we already know how to reinforce the things, and
Yep.
the Russians took a whack at it, and it's their space, so they can do whatever they want. And I think it's hilarious. It's like, oh, I reinforce it, and oh, you brought to it. That's the thing, is that you can reinforce it easily enough once you know the system.
And
You
what's
literally
great,
just
too,
wait for the next day, and
that-
so when you see tests show up with 150 people or whatever, you go, okay, cool, you brought 150 people. We will reinforce it tomorrow. Fuck you.
Yeah, and that's the best part about this is they had to travel all the way there. They end up spending close to 2, maybe even 3 hours for blue balls, which then led to an Astra House that Goons had anchored coming online just a few hours later because they didn't have the manpower to kill it. So the Astra House and Catch in U-Q went online uncontested because the 200 Goons that showed up to defend it outnumbered the 100 people that were going to come kill it because they were burnt out from the blue balls. So it actually led into a hilarity piece. So that's what happened in that bit of space. Another bit of news here. I think Moomin wrote this, I'm pretty sure. CCP fucked up. The character status API is now broken, and CCP has 0 plans to fix it. So if you use EveMon...
Moomin,
oh,
if you wrote this up, Moomin, why don't you tell us about it?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's quite an interesting one as far as I'm concerned for a couple of reasons. First of all, back in November last year, CCP were making promises about the new replacement, which was going to be ESI, Eve Swagger interface, how it was going to replace all of the functionality that existed within the current APIs being used back at that point. And, no one should panic about it, and third-party developers were going to be looked after. And now, obviously, roll that on 6 months. They've actually broken part of the API, and after Arith has been battling for about a week with this, just to either get it fixed or some sort of acknowledgement, CCP have finally actually acknowledged that there is an issue here, and now they've actually stated, yeah, actually, we're not going to fix it either. So we now have a situation where CCP made a promise, they've gone back on that promise, and given the amount of work that still needs to happen with ESI as well, you have to wonder what else is not going to be delivered, what has been promised, and how that's all going to unfold.
Right.
But the more important part to this as well is with the third-party tools, some of those tools are probably going to be dependent on very simple things such as checking in account status, and it will be relatively fundamental to their operation. And if that fails, that particular check, then arguably everything else in that program will start to fail as well. EveMon has been hit by this particular break. Loads of people use EveMon.
I mean, the fact that EveMon is broken is, what?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And I mean, and no one's really talking about this or mentioning it in quite the way that I had hoped. But for me, more seriously, is the third-party applications. Well, even imagine in-game systems where you have a set of services, and those services are set up in a way that they will actually look at account activity, and they'll do a test and go, has that person been active at all? Oh no, they haven't. So, and if that test comes back and it says, oh no, they haven't been active for ages, all of a sudden you might find yourself with no services.
Yep.
Yeah, and what's crazy...
Yeah, that's just a mess.
I'm gonna ask.
One of the things that I've noticed on a comment here on the article that you wrote, Movin, was from Turk pointing out that CCP Fox4 was the guy who is no longer with the company, who was really interested in doing a lot of cutting-edge API tools and third-party developer-related liaison. And I don't know whether this is true or not, but this is something that Turk Fezzik has been keeping track of, and points out that with him out of the company, maybe this is why there's been a decline in interest in APIs and this sort of thing. Are any of you guys familiar with that and could give a comment?
Sorry, I've got a bit more to add on to this.
Go for it.
The other thing that is affected a lot is anyone that uses spreadsheets to actually pull information to either manage accounts or any of that type of stuff.
Ooh.
So, I mean, it can also affect that. With regards to ESI and actually implementing it, this type of functionality, to be honest with you, with the meager experience of being in the software industry for quite a few decades now, I would imagine that it's a comparatively simple thing to sort out once the actual framework is in place, which it is.
Yeah, here's where it's, I think, even bigger too, is CCP's comment in a Reddit thread that was posted by Corns. Of course, this was noticed by Aerith, and that's where I saw it, was a tweet that Aerith put out. But the Reddit thread by Corns, where the CCP dev's like, well, you don't need this because we send you email notifications to let you know that your account is soon to expire. Which then Globby here replied, and so did I, that they don't work. They come late sometimes by several days, or they'll show up with like 6 hours left on your time, and if you're at work, you're not going to be able to fix that. So these warnings don't continuously show up on time and aren't reliable. So now CCP's defense is, use this.
I want to kind of throw in a little bit there. Is like email, really? 21st century? Perhaps they should just send, carrier pigeons instead, or I don't know.
Aerith is pointing out here in chat that the CSM pointed out and CCP acknowledged that the email template itself might also be broken.
That's the thing the CCP dev said to look at. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, so I got nothing. We got nothing, and in fact, we are actually out of time.
We got one more thing here. I wanted to see what you guys thought, and I'll ask everyone about this. CCP is making a hard dive right into T3 balance. They want it done and finished July 11th, which is the summer patch. They want it done before the Alliance tournament. And there's a lot of speculation as to why they're pushing so hard. We have an article on INN about this. They even created a focus group, which will discuss the changes, and there's candidates on the list. But my question for Sadis is, do you even recognize, outside of Asher and I think one other person on this list, ProGod, I don't recognize anyone on here that would actually be FCing these things in 0-0 or in LowSec even. So, is there anyone on this list that would qualify to do this?
Well, I don't know if you actually want everyone to be known because, well, we know all of the nullsec folks. They'll get their input, but there's folks who want to see assault frigates or other ships to have a use. So maybe that's why they just picked 3 people who knew what they're doing and then a bunch of retards. I don't know. Maybe that's what they went with.
I'm afraid I already know the answer. Is who was the person that was calling for the focus group to be formed in the first place?
Not even sure, actually. Hold on. It might be in our thing. I didn't look at that.
I think it's Fozzie. Yeah, that's the thing.
Team 5
Fozzie started doing these focus groups a while back because, as far as I could tell, and I have no idea whether this is true or not, but the impression that I got from seeing Fozzie's body language and his behavior was that he was essentially upset about the fact that he got tarred and feathered for FozzieSoft, which is a disastrously garbage system that everybody involved should be ashamed about. And these focus groups were created in a way during the era of the no scions rule CSM to try to dodge the elected representatives of the people. And they were staffed with idiots before And when you have a huge focus group that is full of unelected folks, essentially what it allows Fozzie to do is do whatever he wants to do, like the amazing ship balance changes that we've all benefited from, and then claim that he had input from, oh, well, this one random idiot said this on a focus group, and I latched onto that idea,
that's what I think he's
and
doing
so I
here.
was listening to the voice of the people. I mean, anytime CCP Fozzie starts talking about a focus group, everybody who gives a crap about Eve should feel deeply nervous.
Right, and that's where I see this. I see this as he's going to grab these names, like some of these you do know these people, and throw them under the bus, right?
Sherrard
It does
new focus groups. That's funny.
It does allow him to suck the chrome off a bumper hitch afterwards.
Right, yeah, because he could say, "Oh, Asher thought this was a great idea, so that's why I went with it. Don't look over here and blame me." And I think that's what's going to happen with this. The same thing happened when Tibrazo was on the Capital Group. Tibrazo was like, "Yeah, fuck off," and left because it was just a shit, like a fucking mess. It was just terrible. They didn't listen to anything anyone had to say. I think one focus group got disbanded. That was on the T3 destroyers, the jump ones, because it just wasn't going anywhere. So I think it's a mock raid. So I called it the CCP Ruse Cruise.
I want to hear what Kanan has to think about this.
Yeah.
As the other FC in the room.
As far as the actual focus group itself, I'm always suspicious of them because I think it's just a way for him to create a fucking echo chamber for himself, and I think they're a joke. Though I think the bigger concern than the focus group itself is the actual direction that a lot of people seem to want to go with T3s, and that is to just nerf them into the ground. And I personally think that's fucking retarded.
I don't.
That's good to know.
See, I counter you on this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, what do you mean by having them nerfed in the ground, and what do you think should be done instead? What would you, if you were in charge, Kanan, how would you alter, or would you alter T3s as they stand?
The current couple of changes that I believe T3s need to get is mostly just quality of life and just condensing the amount of options related to them. But they really, I don't think, need a lot of changes. Instead of changing T3s, I personally think that they should be used as the balancing point for a lot of other shit. The main problem, or the main criticism that is levied at T3s, is that A-hacks are completely and utterly garbage, and that hacks in general are completely and utterly garbage due to them. Instead of nerfing T3s, I personally think that armor hacks and hacks in general need to be brought up to a comparable level. With the current meta being so favored towards faction battleships, pirate battleships, and things like that, if you nerf T3s to the ground, we're just going to create a massive clusterfuck of battleships online, and I think that's going to be garbage.
That's a very nuanced point. I like that, Kanan. And in fact, it's such a nuanced point that we're going to close out the show.
Yeah, that was the last thing here. And I'll leave you guys with an image. We're going to the boat show next.
The boat show. What are we playing on the boat show today?
We're gonna continue our Let's Play. We didn't know Let's Play of Stardew Valley. That game is so fun.
Boy. All right, excellent.
So
well, thank you all for coming, and I want to thank our guests for turning up and answering all these questions and providing such nuanced views on third-party tools, as well as how to actually unfuck T3s, which is to say make hacks great again, as it were.
Yeah, so,
Good day, everyone.
Stuff, guys. Yeah, have a great day, and I'll be back for the boat show. And the boat show's actually going to go long today because Plex is not here today, so I will be going longer. Bye!
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.